The rain hammered against the windshield like 1,000 tiny fists as Marcus drove home from his late shift at the warehouse. His wipers struggled against the deluge, and his body ached with exhaustion. All he wanted was to collapse into bed, maybe check on his sleeping daughter Emma one more time, and forget this endless day. But then his headlights caught something that made his heart stop. A small figure slumped in a wheelchair on the side of the road, rain pouring over her like a waterfall. Marcus slammed on his brakes, his truck skidding slightly on the wet asphalt. For a moment, he sat frozen, his mind refusing to accept what his eyes were seeing. A child, alone, in a wheelchair, in this storm. He threw the truck into park and bolted out into the rain, not even bothering to grab his jacket. Hey, sweetheart, he called out, running toward her. The girl couldn't have been more than 7 or 8 years old, her small frame shivering violently beneath a soaked pink sweater. Her dark hair was plastered to her face, and her eyes, those haunted, terrified eyes, looked up at him with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. Please, she whispered, her lips blue from the cold. Please help me. Marcus didn't think twice. He scooped her up from the wheelchair, her body feeling impossibly light and fragile in his arms. She was ice cold, trembling like a leaf. He carried her to his truck, placing her gently in the passenger seat and cranking the heat to maximum. The wheelchair, old and rusted, he quickly folded and tossed in the truck bed. You're okay now, he said, his voice shaking more than he'd like to admit. You're safe. I've got you. As he drove toward the hospital, he kept glancing over at her. She was wrapped in his emergency blanket, still shivering, but her eyes never left him. There was something in her gaze, a deep, knowing sadness that no child should ever possess. What's your name, sweetheart? Marcus asked gently. Lily, she whispered. Lily. That's a beautiful name. I'm Marcus. Can you tell me what happened? Where are your parents? Lily's face crumpled, and tears mixed with the rainwater on her cheeks. Mommy left me there. She said she'd come back, but she didn't. She said she couldn't do it anymore. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He gripped the steering wheel tighter, rage and heartbreak warring inside him. What kind of person abandons a disabled child in the rain? His own daughter's face flashed through his mind, Emma, who he'd do anything for, who was his whole world since his wife Sarah died 3 years ago. At the hospital, chaos erupted. Doctors and nurses swarmed around Lily, checking her vitals, wrapping her in warm blankets, asking questions Marcus couldn't answer. The police were called. Social services arrived. Marcus found himself in a waiting room, still soaked to the bone, giving his statement to a kind-faced officer named Detective Rodriguez. You did a good thing tonight, Rodriguez said. That little girl would have died out there in another hour or two. Hypothermia doesn't mess around. Marcus nodded numbly. Have you found her mother? We're working on it. The wheelchair had some identifying information. We should have answers soon. Rodriguez paused, studying Marcus. You planning to stick around? Yeah, Marcus said without hesitation. Yeah, I need to know she's okay. Hours passed. Marcus called his neighbor Mrs. Chen to check on Emma, assuring her he'd be home soon. He bought terrible coffee from a vending machine and sat in that uncomfortable waiting room chair, unable to leave. Finally, a social worker named Patricia approached him, her expression grave. Mr. Harrison, Lily's asking for you. They let him into her room. She was in a hospital gown now, warm and dry, hooked up to monitors. But her eyes lit up when she saw him, and she reached out her small hand. Marcus took it gently, sitting beside her bed. Hey there, brave girl. How are you feeling? Better, Lily said. Thank you for saving me. Oh, sweetheart, you don't need to thank me. Any decent person would have done the same. But you're the one who did. Her grip tightened on his hand. My mommy, she's sick. In her head, she cries a lot. She said taking care of me was too hard, that she couldn't afford my medicine or my wheelchair repairs. She said maybe someone else would find me who could help me better. Marcus felt his throat tighten. He wanted to be angry at this woman, but all he felt was a crushing sadness. He understood being overwhelmed, understood the weight of single parenthood and medical bills and the constant fear of not being enough. Over the next few days, Marcus couldn't stop thinking about Lily. He visited her every evening after work, bringing books and puzzles. She'd been placed in temporary foster care, but her face always transformed when he walked in, like someone had turned on a light inside her. Emma came with him on the third visit. His 10-year-old daughter had insisted, saying she wanted to meet Daddy's hero girl. The two hit it off immediately, Emma chattering about her school and showing Lily videos on Marcus's phone, both of them giggling like they'd known each other forever. On the drive home, Emma was quiet for a long time before asking, "Daddy, what's going to happen to Lily?" "I don't know, baby. The social worker is trying to find her the best placement possible." "What about us?" Marcus glanced at his daughter. "What do you mean? What about us? We have that extra bedroom. I've always wanted a sister. And Lily needs a family." Emma's voice cracked. "She needs us, Daddy. I can tell." That night, Marcus lay awake staring at the ceiling. The logical part of his brain listed all the reasons why it was impossible. He was barely making ends meet as it was. He worked long hours. He didn't know anything about caring for a child with special needs. But his heart kept showing him Lily's face, kept reminding him of how she'd looked at him with such trust, such hope. The next morning, he called Patricia. The process wasn't easy. There were home visits, background checks, interviews, training sessions about Lily's medical needs. Marcus learned about her cerebral palsy, her physical therapy requirements, her medication schedule. He met with financial counselors and doctors. He lay awake at night wondering if he was crazy, if he could really do this. But then he'd visit Lily and see how her whole face changed when he arrived. He'd watch Emma video chat with her, the two of them planning how they'd decorate Lily's room. And he'd remember what his wife Sarah used to say, "We make room for what matters, Marcus. We always find a way." 6 weeks later, Marcus carried Lily over the threshold of their home. Her home, Emma dancing ahead of them, practically vibrating with excitement. They'd repainted the spare bedroom a soft lavender, Lily's favorite color. They'd installed grab bars in the bathroom and built a ramp for the front porch. The house had never felt more like a home. That night, as Marcus tucked both girls into their beds, Lily grabbed his hand one more time. "Marcus," she whispered, "can I call you Dad?" He had to swallow hard against the lump in his throat. "I would be honored, sweetheart. I would be so honored." As he stood in the hallway between their rooms, listening to them settle into sleep, Marcus realized something profound. He'd thought he was saving Lily that rainy night. But the truth, the stunning, beautiful truth, was that she'd saved him too. She'd reminded him that love wasn't a finite resource, that families could be built through choice and compassion, and that sometimes the greatest blessings come disguised as broken things left out in the rain. His heart, which had felt so hollow since Sarah died, was full again. Not replaced, but expanded. Room enough for all of them. The rain had brought Lily to him, but love would keep her there forever.